In 1966, a highly classified think tank study was secretly commissioned by the Department of Defense. Its goal was to answer a terrifying question: how do you control a population if world peace is actually achieved? This investigation stems from G. Edward Griffin's The Creature from Jekyll Island, which details a document known as the Report from Iron Mountain. The study's purpose was to find ways to stabilize society, which, in bureaucratic terms, meant preserving the government's power over the masses. Researchers at the Hudson Institute applied a physical science approach to the study, ignoring all moral or aesthetic values. They determined that, historically, war was the only reliable mechanism for societal compliance. The threat of an external enemy makes burdens like high taxes and the loss of liberty seem acceptable to the public. However, the planners were looking toward a future of unified global government and total disarmament. In a world without independent nations fighting each other, the traditional threat of war would vanish. To maintain control, they needed a psychological substitute, a new enemy that posed a terrifying threat to human survival. They brainstormed several alternatives. Poverty was rejected because most of the world already lived in it and viewed it as a fact of life. An alien invasion was considered, but the researchers realized the public wouldn't find it credible without an observable physical menace. They eventually found a surrogate in the gross pollution of the environment. Because the poisoning of air and water supplies was already well advanced, the researchers believed this threat would be highly credible to the average citizen, eventually replacing the fear of nuclear destruction. The report concluded that these models of environmental doom would need to carry extraordinary conviction to justify the immense sacrifices of wealth and life the government planned to demand. It noted that if a real threat didn't exist, one would simply have to be invented, because credibility was more important than truth. Welcome to a different perspective at the Bookish Breakdown. If you want to keep unraveling these hidden geopolitical threads with us, take a second right now to like this video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue sharing these findings. The 1966 report provided the theoretical blueprint, but the logic didn't stay confined to secret think tanks. As we trace this agenda forward, we see how the environmental movement shifted from grassroots conservation into a sophisticated mechanism for global governance. In 1991, an elite group of global planners known as the Club of Rome published a book titled The First Global Revolution. This group, which included prominent American political figures, echoed the exact logic found in the Iron Mountain Report 25 years earlier. They wrote, "In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill." Their publication then delivered a final chilling verdict. The real enemy, then, is humanity itself. While many believe corporate powers are the natural enemies of environmentalism, these documents suggest the financial elite actually engineered the movement. It serves as a tool for wealth extraction, using the planet's health as a pretense for centralized control. The elite weaponized this movement against the middle-class lifestyles of industrialized nations. By blaming individual consumption for the Earth's destruction, they created a justification to curtail production and demand that citizens submit to extreme rationing and global taxes. Maurice Strong, a billionaire tycoon and Secretary General of the 1992 Earth Summit, openly stated that middle-class habits, like air conditioning, automobile ownership, and suburban housing, were simply not sustainable. The 1992 Earth Summit in Rio served as the official international platform where these plans were legitimized and pushed onto independent nations as global policy. Strong even discussed a hypothetical scenario where a secret society of world leaders deliberately jams the world's stock markets to engineer an economic collapse, forcing industrialized civilizations to fall in order to save the planet. The Council on Foreign Relations, or CFR, meticulously coordinated the messaging required to substitute the Cold War with environmentalism. In 1989, CFR member George Kennan wrote that the deterioration of the planet must replace the Soviet Union as our great enemy. Other members like Michael Oppenheimer and Lester Brown followed suit, declaring that the battle to save the planet would become the organizing theme of the New World Order. This coordinated effort successfully built a psychological foundation for global authority, replacing the fear of traditional warfare with the constant threat of planetary doom. This diagram shows the ultimate objective: draining independent nations. Weakened by environmental treaties and regulations, their wealth is funneled toward a single central authority. Ultimately, these nations surrender their sovereignty to a global government, justifying the transition through a unified response to the climate crisis. This agenda extends beyond economics into the right of humanity to exist. For certain theoreticians, controlling population growth represents the zenith of state power, the absolute bureaucratic plan. For instance, high-profile environmentalists like Jacques Cousteau argued that to stabilize the world population, we must eliminate 350,000 people per day. He suggested that our dread of diseases should not be allowed to endanger the future of the species. This manufactured crisis justifies the expansion of government power, the creation of global taxation mechanisms, and the implementation of a world central bank operated by the IMF and the World Bank. By declaring humanity as the disease, global planners position themselves as the cure, ready to administer a treatment of extreme control, endless taxation, and the systematic dismantling of individual liberty. This concludes our series on the Creature from Jekyll Island. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives from the Bookish Breakdown. We'll see you in the next video.